In this video, I'm going to show you how to blend images together to make a hybrid animal. We're going to take this chipmunk and blend it with this bird to make a hybrid animal. So the tool that you're going to use the most is the quick select tool. It's like a brush. You're going to put it on plus to add to the selection, and you're going to use a hard brush somewhere around 30. You can also change the size of your brush by using the bracket keys on your keyboard. Alright, so when you start off, make sure that your window workspace says Essentials. And then we're going to get the Quick Select tool. That's the tool that you're going to use to select the bird out of its background. I'm going to have it on plus and change the brush size up here. Make sure the hardness is 100. Put it somewhere around 30. Alright, and then you're going to start brushing over the bird's head to select it. If you accidentally select the background, just use the minus brush. So I have it on the plus brush right now. Alright, so you're going to see that it doesn't quite get all the edges of the feathers. So we're going to go into something called Select and Mask at the top. You'll see my cursor moving up there. Click on that. Now when you do, it gives you an area to edit your selection. So I have mine set on overlay over on the right, but I'm going to scroll through all these different settings here so you can see what they look like. This is to help you get a better selection than what the computer did very easily. So they have all these different view modes. I am going to recommend that you use overlay because I think it's really easy to see what you're selecting. I have my color on red, but you can change the color, and I put the opacity around 70. So when it's really light you can't see, and when it's really dark you can't see your background. So I kind of like to have it around 70. Alright, so on the left hand side it has different brushes that you can pick. The first brush is the regular quick select. The second one is called the refined edge brush. The third one is the brush tool. I wouldn't worry about the object selection one. The lasso tool, it has a hand tool and zoom tool. So I'm going to use this refined edge brush to get the feathers. So I have it on plus, and I'm going to leave my brush size about 25 and on hardness. So you use the refined edge brush and just brush it along the edge of these feathers that are sticking out. Don't go too far into the bird's head. Like if you use the lasso tool, you can actually select pieces of it out like that, but I'm not going to use that. And if you use it on the regular quick select tool, it works just like the very first brush that you used to get into this mode. And if you use it on the third brush, you can actually paint in your selection with your, however you brush it in is how it selects. Okay, so that's how those different tools work on the left hand side. But I'm going to go back to the refined edge tool. That's perfect for getting these feathers. Alright, so I'm going to finish selecting the feathers by going along the edge. And just brush the edges. Don't brush too far into the bird or too far away. And then get under its chin a little bit and along the top of the beak. For the top of the beak, the refined edge tool doesn't work as good. So I'm going to use the third brush tool because it works better to select that area. So I'm going to show you if you have it on minus, it does that, but if we put it back on plus, then we can actually select the area that we want. If you make a mistake, you can put it back on minus. Alright, so I feel like I have a much better selection of the bird now. I have more of the detail by using this mode here. And so you can press OK. So after you press OK, then you're back here and it's selected and you can copy it. And then we're going to go to our chipmunk and push paste. And now you can see I have a really good selection of the bird. I got all its feathers, so I have a lot more detail than if I would have if I didn't go into that select and mask mode. So I'm going to use Control T here to reduce the size of the bird's head and move it and rotate it by holding the cursor outside of that box. When you drag it on the inside of the box, it moves it. When you drag it on the outside of the box, you can rotate it. And if you drag it by the corners, you can scale it. So Alright, and then you need to press enter or return after you transform an object. Otherwise you'll get stuck in that mode. So now I'm going to get my eraser tool and I'm going to get a big brush. Notice how it's on like 200 and I'm putting the brush, it's a soft brush, and I'm putting it away from the edge. Notice how I'm not just brushing right over the head. I'm staying to the outside of the edge of the bird so that the edge is just gradually being erased. So notice my brush is not over the bird's head. I am away from the edge. That is the best way to get a realistic blend. Keep your brush away from the edge. Now I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Hue and Saturation, and I'll explain what that does. The bird's head looks a little bit grayish. It's not very bright. So I'm going to go here into this Hue and Saturation, and I'm going to adjust the saturation. The saturation either makes something brighter colors. Notice how when I push it to the right, the bird's head becomes more of a bright orangey brown. If I went to the left, it would make it gray. So to the right, it makes it brighter. The color is saturated. So I'm turning it on and off to see how it looks. I'm going to go ahead and name my layer bird. Alright, so what I want to do next, I'm going to use the eraser a little bit more. Notice how once again I'm not putting it right on the bird's head, I'm kind of staying to the edge to get some of those feathers off. So I'm using my bracket keys to make my brush size bigger and smaller. That comes in handy so that you don't always have to go to the top left menu. You can do it that way, but it's kind of easier when you're working to do it with the bracket keys. And once again, notice how I'm not brushing right over the bird's head. I have a really big soft brush and I'm staying way far away from the edge. Alright, so I want to get rid of the chipmunk's ears. So I'm going to go over here and use a tool called the rubber stamp tool, and I'll explain how that works. Clone stamp tool rather. So click on the clone stamp tool and it's like a brush just like everything else. Now when I try to do it on this layer, it's giving me that circle with the slash. That means I need to go on the layer that's active. So click on the background layer, and to get rid of the ear, what I want to do is hold the Alt key and click away from the chipmunk up in the sky. And then what that does is it samples a point there, and now when I go over the ear, I can click and drag, and it puts the blue where the sky is, where that plus sign is, it's painting it over the ear. So that's why you have to click away from the thing. Now notice if I alt click on the chipmunk's eye and then start painting, it makes another copy. So the clone stamp tool is just making a clone of wherever you alt click. Alright, so now I have the ear gone. This is getting close to being done. I feel like the bird still needs a little bit more of a contrast. So I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Levels. And what that I can do with levels is I can make the darker things dark and the lighter things light. So it just takes some experimenting with these sliders. So notice how the bird's head's getting darker now. And then when I pull this other arrow over here, it's going to make more contrast. I feel like it matches the actual photograph of the chipmunk when you do that.